a recording of the session. So the CSTA Ohio Duck Socks, we have several still available. If you are at OETC, then we were throwing them at people, sometimes literally, and we still have a few more. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'm going to share all these links in the chat, and I'm going to start with the link to the actual slide deck so that you have the slide deck on you. Just as, oh, of course that happened. I have too much. Okay, so the next thing is, well, you'll get the link. The next thing is the Innovate Ohio AI Toolkit. That just came out, and the really exciting part about the toolkit is that it actually has a ton of resources in order to be able to teach AI. And so that is great for teachers. It offers a starting point. And I do want to highlight that there's the link to the slide deck. I do want to highlight that it heavily leans on AI EDU, which is doing some great work in AI education. I have to admit that I am a fellow with AI EDU, and we just wrapped up our fellowship. Their materials are wonderful, so please take advantage of them. And again, they're heavily referenced in all of this, the Innovate Ohio AI Toolkit. There was a webinar by Texas Instruments called Standards Aligned Python Activities for the CS Classroom. That was on March 7th. So Michelle Grooms sent that. She is our rep, and that is something that you might want to check out. CSTA is offering folks to money, stipends, to become a CS mentor. So that application is, well, preferential application is due by March 17th. It's more of a rolling application, but they're trying to get everything set up for next school year. Celebrating National Robotics Week, that is happening on March 28th. So there's information about robotics. The Ohio Forum on High School Data Science is happening on April 19th. That is, I believe, being run by DEW, or at least partially by DEW. Marshall University Gen Cyber Conference is happening the next day on April 20th, and that is in West Virginia. But they have a virtual option, and if you are a presenter virtually, you get a $100 stipend. So not only is it a great opportunity if you're into cybersecurity, but it is also a little lucrative as well. The big news is that we have the upcoming CS Summit in Cleveland on May 21st. That is at Cleveland State University. It will be free. We will have tables for vendors that are also free. We will be serving lunch, and we will have several speakers and panelists, and an opportunity to network, to meet some other CS teachers. On June 4th is the Ohio STEM Innovation Summit, and that is put on by Battelle, and that will be in Columbus. I think it's $89 to go. The big one, of course, is, as Joe mentioned, is CSTA 2024 in Las Vegas. I will be there. I know that most of our board will be there, and that is basically a week-long event. I think there's a lot to do in Las Vegas that doesn't involve going outside in the middle of July. So I am sure it's going to be a good time. Any questions about any of those? All right. So next up, we have TEALS. So go ahead, Courtney.
First unmute. How about that? So I'm gonna, do I have 5 minutes, John? Is that what I saw up there? Okay. Well, I will be super quick. I'm gonna share my screen here. We typically work in teams, but it is all good. Let me jump in. All right. So you all are probably familiar with TEALS already. And so I don't want to, I certainly want to answer any questions that are on this call, but in 2021, Avid broached a new partnership with Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS, which we're so excited about. That partnership model began in the state of Minnesota and started in Twin Cities due to funding by Best Buy, which is headquartered there, spread out to more urban and suburban areas, even some rural areas the second year. And now we're in year three, where we've essentially partnered with Microsoft Teals to just really spread the word, build sustainable computer science classrooms. I already heard it mentioned here, some of the things about, oh my gosh, some of the needs. I mean, we see that CS is is at the legal level in so many states across the country. In Georgia, for example, it's required. They've just passed some new things, but it's required for high schools as of 24-25 school year. And just having teachers that are really equipped to be able to teach CS is a need. I mean, it's just a need. You all on this call, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, so you all know that. And so that's exciting. If you've not heard of Avid, I won't have time to go into all that, but basically it's a 45-year-old organization, and it's kind of a mother hen in education where they have um, just improved opportunities for students, focus on college and career readiness specifically in all content areas, even through leadership development across the school district, etc. So Avid, being that mother hen, Microsoft reached out and say, hey, we want to know what it looks like to partner with you all. Partnership, synergizing the work is always ideal when you can. And so we're excited to be a part of that, closing the opportunity gap in CS. And so you know what TEALS is? Very briefly, they did shift it. It stands for Technology, Education, and Learning Support. It's all about a volunteer in the classroom. I have a lot of folks that are super excited about getting the support of volunteer, and we want more teachers in Ohio. So you all, please feel free to share this. The model itself includes the volunteer. That's really the secret sauce of the model. It also includes recommendations or support and guidance in choosing the best curriculum. It includes community support. You all know that at CSTA, where they are also supported by CSTA as a PLC, and then support by our Avid team and our Microsoft regional managers long term. So they're just really nestled in with lots of support. And what it looks like in the classroom, it's just that it ranges of a teacher can teach as long as 3 years under the TEALS model. It is expected after 3 years they graduate out of that model. When they enter the program, they can be in the co-teach model, which just means that volunteer will teach the majority of that course. The teacher is always the lead of that teaching team. However, that volunteer can take ownership, and we've seen it happen so often, of that course teaching in the beginning as they kind of mentor that teacher until they get upskilled. And then the lab support model is usually where they'll be at for year 2 or 3. And these are commonly taught CS courses in high schools across the US. So we do see an uptick in intro to app development is one. AI, of course, is another one. Cybersecurity is on there, but it's definitely trending higher. I feel like there's experts on this call, so I'm gonna push through, try to get it in 5. I appreciate the time, certainly, John. And so probably that what you don't know about is a new training. I mentioned it as a highlight during my intro, but Avid has developed a new COP, Community of Practice. It's a 2-day, 6-hour per day training, and we are giving scholarships for this training. Avid training is not typically free at all. We wish it could be, but it's a very robust effort. It's a year long in development, but we've partner with a lot of great organizations to develop really the best in what you see those bullets up there. It's new for Avid. We're super excited about it. About 13% of it is on mentorship, meaning that it's going to be designed for that educator or administrator that really wants to implement a mentorship program in their classroom. And so we're just super excited about it, being able to do that for free. This is like $550, I think, for Avid schools, like $650 for non-Avid schools. So it's kind of a big deal to be able to scholarship this for educators, and wanted to make sure that CSTA Ohio was aware of that as well. Results, oh my goodness, this was a new teacher And I'm happy to share these slides outside of this as well, so you can go back over it. But some of the outcomes that we saw our first and second year just really exceeded our expectations. And it was ideal because Avid owns certain pieces of the model. Microsoft owns different pieces of the model. We support with different pieces, but we were kind of boots on the ground, and this is from the Minnesota area. We're able to see the impact of a new teacher and also schools that had never had a computer science education in their program before. And so please spread the word. It's so simple to get the scholarship. They really just need to apply for it and send that submission to teals@avid.org. We are appropriating funding towards that. I'm gonna pause now just to see if there's any questions. You can certainly reach out to me beyond this call for additional, context or questions, or if you want a fuller, time to chat as well. Is that 5 minutes, John? I don't know. We tried to get it in.
No, you're totally fine.
And,
I meant 5 teacher minutes.
oh yeah, that's more than 5 minutes. Yes, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Well, I will pop my information in the chat as well, and feel free to connect. Please feel free to share these details that I share with others in your network. Thanks so much.
I did have one question real
Yes.
quick. I'm a former TEALS volunteer. I'm actually wearing the shirt today from 2019, way back in the day. But I don't know anything about what's going on with TEALS in Ohio right now. I don't know, Courtney, do you know like who the regional manager for, is there one for Ohio, or is it like what's the situation from that
Such a good question. So, Alicia, do you know Alicia?
I don't think so. That might have been.
Okay. She is managing, there may be someone else, Jeffrey. Those are the two that I know that have been, John's been copied on that with Ohio. I don't know if either of those names are familiar. We are kind of like pinch hitting to support the work in Ohio. More so from the front end of like sharing about it, Alicia and Jeffrey from the ongoing year-round support, getting the volunteer onboarded, the school interview, those pieces. So, but I'm happy, to connect you if you're interested in, learning more. We are new, Avid is, in the Ohio region, and be transparent. So, but happy to make that happen if you need to know more for sure, Joseph. But yeah,
Yeah,
those are the two names that I
great.
know of
Okay.
for Ohio.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Of
might
course.
reach out depending on, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's been a long time since I've heard anything about teals, so I was just curious.
Yes, we wanna reactivate. That's why we're here. We wanna get the word out. We want more Ohio schools. We want schools to be able to take advantage, especially what's happening at the state level. That's super exciting. So
Awesome.
it's a
Thank you.
need. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and feel free to
Of
stay on.
course.
We'll have some interesting things going on, and we might
Oh,
even
I'm gonna
have a
hang
couple more
around.
people. Excellent.
Yep. I do
Um,
have to leave a little bit, in a little bit, but I'm gonna hang around for a while. This is great. Thank you.
Wonderful. And TEALS is really active in Cleveland. We do have quite a few teachers who have TEALS volunteers.
That's what I heard.
Uh, Tom, take it away.
All right. Thanks, John. So as I mentioned, I'm the founder of BirdBrain Technologies, and what BirdBrain does is we create educational robots like the Finch robot and the Hummingbird robotics kit, to allow you really to generate and create deep and joyful learning experiences in your classrooms. And so what I'm here for today is just to show you a quick activity that we worked on last year that adapted some of our AI resources that can be used with the Finch or the Hummingbird to a no robot situation. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen so that you can see that. Let's see. Not that one. Okay. All right, so this is our AI for All Hour of Code lesson, and let me put it in the chat. And essentially in this lesson, you use Google Teachable Machine to create, or your students use it to create a machine learning model. And then we have built basically a way to integrate Google Teachable Machine into Snap. Snap is a blocks-based programming environment. And so with that, you can either control one of our robots, or you can just have the students create a game where, when they look at the camera or that they hold up an image to the camera, it does something in the game. So it's a way for students to kind of interact with a machine learning model that they've actually created, that they've trained, and for them to then see those, like, kind of see the limitations of it, as well as the advantages of it. So that's the kind of quick thing. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about that. And then I have been doing webinars, most recently with CSTA Western Mass, and I came here to offer that I would be happy to do a similar webinar with CSTA Ohio, where I could really dive into that activity and kind of show you how it works. With CSTA Western Mass, there were so many people on that I turned it into a show and tell. But if there's a smaller number, like under 20, then it could be more of a workshop where we all do it, where we all go through the activity, train our models, import them into Snap, and so on. So I wanted to share my slide deck from that. So I'm putting that here in the chat also. And that's just bit.ly/meaningful.ai. And so that way you can see kind of what that webinar would look like and what we would talk about. I think it's a very relevant thing to talk about right now. I mean, everybody's talking about AI. So if this is something that you think that your teachers would be interested in, I'd love to do a webinar with all of you and really dive into this activity. And then, I mean, the last thing I would say is if you do want to try it with a robot and you don't have one of our robots right now, we do have a free demo. So you can borrow a robot from us for 60 days for free. I'll put that link in too. And yeah, that's the very quick version. But I have a couple minutes for questions, and I'll plan to stay through at least, I think I can stay through 7:30 before I have to hop off. So if there's questions at the end, I can take them then too.
So as far as setting up that webinar, do you have a good sign-up form or something else that I can distribute or that we can sign up for?
Yeah, I'd be happy to put something together for you.
Great.
And it would be public, but it would be kind of like CSTA Ohio, and of course we'll let anybody else from anywhere join, right? It's a webinar.
Yeah.
But yeah. And we can figure out dates and things like that that might be appropriate. Like we haven't scheduled it yet. So when your teachers, whatever date would be useful for your teachers would be best for us. Maybe after the AP exam or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why we scheduled the CS Summit for May 21st, because we wanted to avoid any of that. So I think we can push that out. We don't have anything scheduled for June. And so we could push that out as something that folks, depending on interest, could do in June. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Any questions for Tom? All right. Thank you so
really
much.
Cool. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do more research on it because all these things look really cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Great having toys. Excuse me. It's great having toys in the classroom. Really, we have been playing with a lot of physical computing lately, and so my job is super easy. Great. So let's dive into what's going on April 8th. So the first thing that I have here for you are, and I'll throw the link into the chat one more time because I think somebody hopped on in the meantime. But that's the link to the slide deck. So, of course, the solar eclipse is happening. It's going to be a total eclipse on April 8th in Cleveland, and in most of Ohio, there will be totality. And then the rest of Ohio, it'll be a really cool show still. So we're really excited up for it, and I just wanted to make sure that folks had some resources to bring it to their computer science classrooms. First of all, these first two links are just general overviews. And the second one, if you haven't seen NASA's solar eclipse website, you need to check it out because they have fantastic simulations and it's really a comprehensive resource for everything. And I will say that April 6th, April 7th, and April 8th, the Great Lakes Science Center in Cleveland is hosting a 3-day celebration for the eclipse. And they have all sorts of giveaways and they have all sorts of events going on. So if you don't want to deal with the craziness on the day of, then come by the Science Center if you are in town and check it out on that weekend before. What I did is I compiled some different resources, put a couple things together that help to hopefully bring this into a computer programming classroom. Now, there are not a lot of fantastic existing resources, but if you are on microbits, just having the students make sunlight sensor and then detecting that level of sunlight over the course of the eclipse could be a really good way to visualize what's happening in addition to having, of course, all of the visual data. Having some actual quantified data would be really cool. We also have, so if anyone uses CS Academy, that uses Python, and there are 2 simulations that I've created in CS Academy for you that look basically similar to this. And the idea being that students contribute somewhat to that code. You can reframe all of these. You can reframe all of these to have as much or as little student input as you want to. But it does give students an idea of something like what they're going to see on the day of. And so it's split into, as you see down here, it's split into X and Y axes and X-axis only. The X-axis only simulations just have the moon passing from west to east, I think. I forget, but it's the right direction, right to left, along the X-axis, as opposed to both axes where it gets a little bit more complicated, right? To figure out the math and figure out how you're going to move the moon along the path of the sun. But that's where all these are coming from. So code.org, you can switch between JavaScript and blocks. So as Tom talked about Snap, the blocks that code.org uses are very similar to Snap or Scratch. And so you could also make an adaptation of essentially taking those blocks, and they're almost 1-to-1 as far as their Scratch or Snap analogs. Tinker also uses blocks, and I know quite a few people use Tinker in their classroom. So simulation is also in there, and also p5.js for some of the JavaScript heads who are looking for something visual. There are not really great classroom-ready IDEs that visualize Java. Just because Java frameworks are so complex for visualization. So that's just not something that I found, or I found that was particularly worth my time to try to whip up real quick, just because anyone who does any sort of visualization in Java tends to kind of cook their own recipe. So for those of you who have plans for Eclipse Day, do you have any plans so far? Do you have any resources that you'd like to share that we can take a look at, or that you're thinking about maybe developing prior to April 8th? The good news is now you do. So let's take let's say 7 actual minutes, not teacher minutes, and do a little bit of exploration. So explore one or more of the resources that you are most relevant to your practice. And if you can think about the questions 2 and 3, how would you use this in your classroom, and any additions or modifications that you would make. And this is also a great opportunity to ask questions and to just, if you're not sure how you would use this in your classroom at all, that's fine. That's also a question, and that's good. So I'm going to pause the recording so that we can take some time, look at some things, and then we'll come back in a few minutes. All right, let's bring it back. Keisha posted, oh, I did a little bit of research in the interim, and Fireflies.ai is just some plugin, of course, but I didn't install it. So I'm thinking that my school district did, and I tried interacting with it, and it didn't say anything back to me, which a lot of these Zoom AIs usually have some interaction bit. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research and figure out how I can get the AI transcript from this one. Anyway, so Keisha said she doesn't have any microbits, and I'm going to hand it to Rachel because I saw your eyes light up. I don't know if you can speak, but what do you have to say about microbits?
So I apologize. I sent that message directly to you instead of to everyone at first because I'm on my phone in my car trying to follow along. I love microbits. I use them for a lot of different applications. So I've used them with young kids, but I also taught pre-algebra and algebra 1, and I used them in my math class to actually we did something very similar to the activity there, but we used it to teach compound inequality statements by using the light sensor on there. And so we had them map different faces for different levels of brightness in the classroom, and then we mapped that on a number line to teach compound inequalities. So my 8th graders loved them, and I think for some of the more advanced users, you could definitely get away with them at a high school level, especially as sensors, because they can gather the data, and you can actually have it send it through Bluetooth to different applications. So they can also send information from one microbit to another, and the range is pretty awesome. My project Lead the Way girls tested out the range on the radio versus the Bluetooth because they're both built in, and the radio frequency went almost a full. We tried a whole football field, and it went the whole football field, and it wasn't having problems. The Bluetooth went about half of the football field with no problem at all. So really exciting, and I love microbits for a lot of things. And then you can use the Python editor on there now, so they don't have to use block-based coding if you're ready to move on.
Thank you for
Perfect.
that insight. I appreciate it.
I would echo all of that. I mean, I love them so much that we redesigned all of our products around them, basically. They are amazing tools and very inexpensive. So just the high value of you spend $15, $18 for a microbit, and it's enough for, so $400, $500 to equip your whole class with one microbit each. The other thing I would add is that they do, that radio feature is really useful too. That whole it allows it to create games where 2 microbits are talking to one another. A great one is like rock, paper, scissors. You shake both microbits, and they show symbol for rock or paper or scissors, and then they can resolve who won, I guess. And now they also have sound and sound production as well as sound detection. So they're fantastic.
Excellent. It sounds like I need to get a set. Was
They're
there
easy
any,
to get a hold of.
unlike the Raspberry Pis?
Yeah, well, they're coming from basically the same area, but yeah, we just bought 50 of them for the ESC in Mahoning County, so we can loan them out to any of the schools that want to use them.
Excellent. Any other resources that you were thinking about using in the classroom? How would you use it? Any additions or modifications that you would make? All right. So I ended up using, because we do have our spring break, and then the first time I'll see the kids after our spring break is April 9th. I ended up using some of the CS Academy stuff with my students, and they definitely ended up with a better understanding of the timing. And just this, I guess, as a result, we discussed what it was going to be like. And so it was a good jumping off point for having the more scientific discussion of not so much why it happens, but what is going to happen atmospherically, as well as a consequence, and some other cool things. So the other major thing coming up, of course, tomorrow is Pi Day. So here are several resources that have some really great activities for Pi Day. CodeHS, and I know CodeHS is paid. They do have an ability to get some free tier stuff. And there's that activity with Pilish. I think that's how you say that. Writing a poem for Pi Day. It's a chatbot inspired way of thinking about writing a poem. And then there's some Tinker blog projects, fun coding projects for Pi Day. So does anyone have anything that you do for Pi Day? Do you have an activity that you'd like to share? Do you do the whole let's buy 4 pizzas? So go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, unfortunately, no, but now I feel like I should and I want to. So you've inspired me.
Yeah, that's always a fun one. Laying out the one pizza and showing that it's 3.14. You cut it all up. Okay, so why don't we just take, in the interest of time, because I do want to respect everyone's time and make sure that we're done by 7:30. Why don't we just take 3 minutes and go ahead and explore at least one of these resources and give a little feedback so we can share something that you found on one of these resources that was interesting, or something that you might want to use in your classroom. All right. Thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing this Pi Day card game. I was reading it a little bit. And that looks like a lot of fun, like good, simple way to engage students and maybe turn an otherwise slow Thursday around. I like it. So what else did folks find? Just go ahead and chime in. Any of these particular resources that you thought you might use, that you thought was interesting, maybe in another universe in a different classroom?
I sent the link for the Pilish, how to write a poem for Pi Day, to our 7th and 8th grade ELA teachers because I think they could really enjoy that. And it could be fun for the kids to kind of think through like how that works. It's based on writing. The words have to have the number of letters of that digit in pi. So like the first word has to have 3 letters, the second one has to have 1, the next one has to have 4, and so on. And I think it said they used the first 48 numbers or so. But I thought it was really cute, and it again could be something to kind of spice up an otherwise humdrum Thursday.
There is that computational piece in there too. All right. Anything else? Anything else that you saw that you wanted to point out? Awesome. And in case, so I have a CodeHS account, and in case there's any resources that you ever see on CodeHS and you are wondering, hey, I'd like to try this. I'm more than happy to add you to my teacher classroom. I have a teacher classroom that I use for any professional development that I do if I'm talking about CodeHS anything, so that you can play around with it and see if that's something that you like. So our next meetup, that concludes today. Our next meetup is in April. We haven't decided yet. Like I said, we're waiting on some things to happen, but the thing that we're most excited about is May 21st in Cleveland. On all of our socials, on our Slack, we will be sending out a registration link as soon as we have it up and ready. We've been waiting for a couple things to fall into place. And there will be, as I said before, there will be free vendors. And I mean free vendors, meaning that there will be vendors who can come for free. So Tom, if that's something that you're interested in, if you have somebody who would like to come up there, then we would love to host you. We're expecting to have between 80 and 100 computer science teachers and other educators at the summit. So please let us know if that's something that you're interested in attending. And as soon as that registration link is out, I'll make sure that not only is it out on all of our different media, but you also have it in your inbox. Is there anything else? Is there anything that you would like to bring up or ask, or you can just stay on for a few minutes and chat? I don't know about anyone else, but I am enjoying this weather.
Me too. Yes.
My doggy is enjoying the weather. And I think it's ironic that I'm about to head to New Zealand and I'm looking at the weather and I'm like, it's like 50, 60 degrees and rainy. It's beautiful here. But thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Joe.
Good to see you too. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you,
Bye.
Rachel.
Thank you for having me today. I'm glad to be part of the group. I did have a quick question about the summit. So you said that vendors, if I know somebody or if I know a vendor who might be interested in being there, who would they get a hold of?
You can just send it right along to me, or you can send it along to Crystal Franklin.
Okay.
Do you have her contact info?
I think I have it somewhere, but I can send them along to you. That's fine. I'm a T cubed regional instructor, and they do a lot with some of the computer science things. They're really delving in there, so they might be interested in sending a representative. So I'll get a hold of Michelle, who's in charge of that for Ohio.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And Joe, it was, oh, just missed him. Good to see you, Keisha. All right, Fireflies. Who are you? I'm all alone. If you're watching the recording, you're now watching me talk to myself.